Hey, what's up? My name is J.M. Chaley and welcome to my channel. This week I want to talk about my full manuscript rejection. Yeah, so that stinks. But I wanted to do this video to talk about my writing journey, how far I've gotten thus far with my querying process, what I've learned, what my next steps are, and maybe turn this into something that other writers who are trying to get published can take from and or at least relate to, be entertained by. I don't know, but I got stuff to talk about. So back in July of this year, right around 4th of July, I got a full manuscript request from an agent, and I was walking on clouds all week. I tried not to let it get me, I tried to stay grounded, to not get my hopes up or anything, but I mean, come on, it was a full manuscript request, and I was just elated. Now, if you don't know what a full manuscript request, it's when an author who's trying to get traditionally published will go out and query their manuscript, their work in progress, their novel to be, their baby, right? They put it in front of literary agents and they write a literary agent a query letter, and there's usually a form they fill out, and it has a little bit of a blurb about what their book is about, the letter itself, some information, yada yada yada, maybe a little taste of what is in the manuscript, maybe the first couple of chapters, maybe the first 50 pages, what have you. If the agent likes it, they ask for a full manuscript request. That means that they're interested in your book to want to read the entire thing. If they like it after reading it, they may want to represent you, which means that they say, yes, I'll be your agent, and we're going to get you a publisher. So getting a full manuscript request was sort of the first step towards publishing. It's the closest I have gotten thus far. Well, about 2 months later, as of this recording, not too long ago, maybe a few weeks ago, the agent reached out and she said she passed. I'm going to read a little bit about what she wrote back to me to put it in context. So it's not terrible, honestly. I mean, all things considered, it's not terrible. And it's fixable. So let's get into that. Thank you for sending me the manuscript of A Flower in Hell. Even though I found your writing to be strong and intriguing, those are good things, right? With your overall concept being quite unique, okay, I've decided that the plot of the story had too many high points in succession. As I read, I felt the need for calm periods where I could let the previous events soak in and build the tension for the next big scene. For this reason, I must decline at this time. So, definitely helpful feedback, and to be fair, accurate feedback. Flower in Hell has a lot of action in it. It is boom, boom, boom. There's combat. There's lots of fight scenes. I mean, my protagonist Cynthia lives in hell, and it's dangerous, and I show that, and it's meant to be an action adventure, and maybe that's not for everyone, but I ought to consider what she said. Maybe it's too much. So this is my first full manuscript request and my first full manuscript rejection. So the first thing I wanted to do was make sure I wasn't going to discount anything she was saying. I also compared her feedback with the feedback that I got from my query partners and my beta readers. If anyone along the way said anything like, oh boy, here we go again with the action, right? There were beta feedbacks where I had some of my readers say, oh boy, Cynthia's just diving right back into the action. And at the time I'm thinking, yeah, she's kicking ass. Now I'm looking at it a second way and thinking, would the story be better served with a little bit of a quiet moment here, a calm moment. So here's what I did. My manuscript is 33 chapters long. I took all 33 chapters and I defined each chapter, whether it was low energy, medium energy, or high energy. Now, low energy doesn't mean sagging middle or boring. It just means that Cynthia is doing something that isn't dangerous, that there isn't a lot of tension or suspense, there's no combat or action, right? She could be reading a book, whatever, right? This is a depiction of basically the energy levels across all 33 chapters. And right away, you can see there's a lot of high energy here. And that's on purpose. It's an action adventure. I'm not sure I need or want to have these big waves, crests and troughs of highs and lows that deep. I want big action across the board. And maybe it's not for everyone, but that's the story I want to tell. But maybe I need to step back and look for opportunities to give the reader a breather. So the second thing I did in this chart is, if you notice, there are red squares underneath the chapters. Those red squares represent gratuitous violence. These are areas where there's a combat scene or some kind of high tense moment that isn't necessary. It's not driving the story forward. For example, in chapter 2, there's a red square. She gets into a scrap. Is it necessary? Do I need it? She also gets into a scrap in chapter 3. Is that necessary? Maybe I can ditch chapter 2 or rewrite chapter 2. There's a section in the second act where she gets into another fight, and I'm thinking maybe there's another way that she can resolve this. Another thing about Cynthia is she doesn't always solve things with a weapon. She's supposed to be strategic. She outthinks her opponent. She's a planner. She's a strategist. Maybe there's an opportunity where she can use her mind instead of her weapon to solve the problem. And I can take some of these, around chapter 20-something, out and reframe them and make them a little bit of a low point. Now, towards the end, the third act, yeah, it's all action. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But there are opportunities here nonetheless. And that's what I kind of need to go back and think about. So what should you do if you're in this position? If you've gotten a rejection letter with some feedback, what should you do? I think my approach feels good. I feel good about it. So I would say, first of all, don't do anything right off the bat. Don't think, oh my God, I have to go quickly and change this right now. And also don't say, she's wrong or he's wrong or whatever. Don't dismiss everything and don't take everything on your shoulders and assume it all has to be done. Give it a few weeks. Kind of like when you finish your first draft, you don't immediately dive back into editing. You take a while. You think on it. Take maybe a few weeks to just marinate on it for a little while, just thinking about your story before you go in and edit. So you're almost coming in with fresh eyes. That's what you want here. You don't want to immediately dive in after your rejection and start pulling things apart, changing things. You want to think about it. I still haven't gone in and edited yet, and I might not touch my manuscript again until after a month or so, after I've really, really thought about it and just done some soul searching and really think about these pieces that I'm considering chopping out of my book. It's a big deal. The second thing you want to do is go back to your critique partner and beta reader feedback. If you're like me, you save those things in Word documents, Google Docs, wherever you have them. You save them and go back to them and reread them and see if anything from them aligns with anything the agent said, and you can kind of build a case to refute or support any particular position on the matter. The third thing you can do is build out a chapter chart, kind of like what I did with my 33 chapters, if it's applicable. Are we talking about story beats or energy or pacing or anything like that that has to do with the flow of the story, your 3-act structure, where does the second act begin or the third act begin? If you want to map all that out and you haven't done so already, having a visual aid might be a good idea. After you've identified things that need to be changed or could be changed, think about how you want to change them. Don't just dive in again with the scalpel, but take a little bit more time to think about how you're going to change it. Not just, yes, I need to change it, but how. I may rip out chapter 2, but I don't know how I'm going to fuse chapter 1 and 3 together. There's also a callback to chapter 2 later on in the book. I'm not sure how I'm going to fix that. So I need to think about my overall plan, and I don't want to rush it. I want to make it the best that it possibly can be, and I want to think about it for a good amount of time before I pull the trigger on anything. And the final thing, of course, is once you've done your editing, get back out there, start querying again from scratch. Maybe you need to rewrite your query letter. Maybe you need to rewrite your synopsis after this. You'll need to grab new chapter chunks of your first 3 chapters. Your manuscript will be different. How is that going to affect your query letter or the forms you fill out? Your word count will change. When you fill out a form, you're going to have a new word count, right? All this kind of stuff. So you're querying cut and paste data that you've been putting out there is going to change. So I think that wraps it up. I think that's it. This was a tough one. It was definitely a blow, and but I'm going to take some time. I'm going to take some more time. Maybe in October, get my hands back on that manuscript and figure out what I'm going to do. And I'll let you know. I'll let you know how it goes, let you know how I'm feeling. And wish me luck. So that about wraps it up. If you like this video, please give a like. And as always, please subscribe. I post most Thursdays. And you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also check out jmchaley.com to see what's going on. I have a newsletter that I am really trying to do frequent or consistent updates every month. If you're subscribed to my newsletter, check your junk folder, because MailChimp likes to put things in the junk folder or spam folder. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.